The LEGO Botanical range isn't stopping anytime soon, and joining the 2026 January 1st releases, now comes the Flower Wall Set 2, all kindly sent to me by LEGO that I'll be covering in today's video review. And if the first four all kinda look like your standard botanical type products, the later not so much, so let's talk about it. The LEGO Flower Wall set takes somewhat of a new approach to the theme, because as opposed to your regular flower type products with pots or bouquets, for which you'll have to source your own vases, it's the first of its kind purely designed to be placed on a wall, making my life to shoot this a lot harder than it should. From the back we can kinda see the lattice wall type build that holds it all in place, built with Technic bricks with holes onto which every single flower is connected to, but also with two of those special hanging pieces commonly seen in LEGO art sets for the purpose of hanging these. As always, the building instructions will give you a rundown of the flower species you'll come across in the model, a selection that's kinda leaning to the pink side of the color spectrum, with the odd white, blue and yellow spots of color to break it down a little. And if you look close enough, you'll be able to spot some of the new LEGO colors introduced to the color palette this year. The big clematis flowers feature that new blue-violet shade of pieces mostly seen on these fairly recent botanical leaf elements. And the big camellias have these 6x6 dishes in the new warm pink shade, which I still feel to be very pleasing to the eye. Three slightly smaller camellias are here too with a matching smaller build. The yellow mimosas are fairly standard builds, the same as the wax flowers pretty much, just by using different colors, next to the dark red rose, whose petals were made with fern pieces bending inside for a nice effect, and some fairly standard cornflowers for that nice light blue splash in the arrangement. My favorites as far as the smart piece usage go have got to be the hydrangea, making use of a ton of white butterfly elements in this half-sphere arrangement. And then the ranunculus flowers using a ton of recolored minifigure axe elements for the petals. Talk about nice part usage. Some green leaves and shoots coming out of the build brings things down to earth a little, as the overall feeling I get when looking at this particular botanical set is that it's kinda artificial. Not sure if that makes any sense to you all, but when looking at some of the other 2026 botanicals, they feel more natural than this one. The way this is done does allow for customization and rearrangements, or even bringing flowers from other sets you might have to place here as suggested in the box and instructions. But I guess the most significant appeal to this one is that it can be combined with others like it with the provided Technic beams to connect the lattice wall segments in the hopes of enticing people to buying a couple sets to build a massive decorative flower wall as a piece of decoration that's kinda trendy right now. At the time of recording, I wasn't given a price for this set, so my guess is as good as yours, but with this piece count and considering the amount of pieces with the new LEGO colors, it wouldn't surprise me if the retail price of these lands anywhere between the $80 to $100 range, with $80 or less being the optimal price point for it, while anything over $90 is kinda leaning towards overpriced. By the time this goes live, the price should be known. I'll make sure to write it down in the description. With all of that said, honestly, and as a generic enjoyer of botanical sets, this one isn't that appealing to me. I can manage the lack of vases for bouquet sets with somewhat easy fixes, but the need to drill holes on a wall to have these up there is a setback that complicates the usability of the product, on top of having a color range spectrum that has a bit of a fake feel to it. The next four are up my alley though. The LEGO Flowering Cactus is perhaps one of my favorite releases of the Botanical range this year. That type of product that from a distance will fool anyone into thinking these are real plants, looks great on display, has some nice part usage, and was very fun to put together from a building experience point of view. So let's start there. The pot itself feels very straightforward, but the bottom was put together with some pieces going upside down for some nice shaping all around. The cactus themselves get their shapes out of 8 offset assemblies placed on its sides, and both the flower of the big one and sprouting flowers of the small one are placed there with the use of recolored steering wheel pieces. The sand green color of the plants is very fitting, and the spikes were recreated with the use of recolored flower stem pieces. And if the small one feels very standard in the piece choices, the petals of the big flower were done with minifigure sign and shield pieces in magenta for a great looking effect. Speaking of color, I do need to mention that the pot is severely lacking in that department, as the light blue shaded pieces have a few different tones to them, even though they're supposed to be the same color, which is a big miss on quality control. But it has something to do with the color most likely, as the big Harry Potter Fort Anglia car suffered from similar issues. On the bright side, this near 500-piece LEGO model retails for $35, which is an awesome deal parts-wise. Sure, lots are tiny and small, especially on the spikes area, and actually looking at these, you really don't get a sense of a 500 LEGO piece model, but they're there. All in all, except for the discoloring issues of the pot, a fantastic botanical product, only second this year to this one. I might sound like a broken record, but the LEGO piece Lilly is my favorite kind of LEGO Botanical. Good looking display piece with a pot right out of the box as to not complicate things for when you want to have it out in the house. Looks like the real deal from a distance, has good building techniques and smart piece usage. Color choice for the vase is very low profile, which helps elevate the plants above. The shaping of the vase was done with a very familiar building technique used many times before by now with sets like the Orchid or the Hibiscus, with a LEGO Technique frame offsetting 16 blocks of pieces for this clean looking effect. The plant itself is stacked with leaves, very much like its real-life counterpart, though a choice of dark green over regular green for its main color could have worked slightly better. Even then, with Bouquet and regular botanical type sets that focus on the wild splashes of color and different species, seeing a product focusing just on the one flower while presenting people with a lush green display piece to brighten a corner at home feels very based and a perfect statement of less is more, which I love so much. And you still get that cool smart piece usage most botanicals have, with the flower details being achieved with a combination of white botanical pieces for the spades and bright yellow minifigure carrots or ice cream elements for the tiny flowers covering the spadix. Slightly under 500 pieces and with a retail price of $50 is very reasonable in this economy, so I honestly have no complaints here. All around, the piece Lilly is the best LEGO has done all year when it comes to botanicals. The LEGO Daisies are that kind of product you can easily gift someone without thinking much of it, knowing full well it'll be loved. It's cute, small and affordable, making for a nice entry-level type of LEGO set for people to get a taste of what the botanical products are all about. You get some nice variety with these, with 3 different types of daisies, 2 smaller ones, making use of this fairly recent white flower piece I'm liking a lot, a straight standing daisy in full bloom state, using yet another fairly recent botanical element for the petals, and a printed 2x2 tile for the center, the same one that can be seen on the 2 extra daisies with a big leaf and tilted at the top. The set does come with a set of lavender flowers too, making use of stacks of that flower piece I mentioned earlier in that new blue-violet shade of pieces, with one of them even having a ladybug at the stem, which is a sweet detail, though with the extra pieces I have on my set you can have another. 133 pieces for $15 isn't the greatest, but considering how small and affordable this is, with a bunch of new elements and prints, I'm not arguing over it. At the end of the day, a neat little product I will see myself gifting to people throughout the year. The LEGO Tulip Bouquet follows on the footsteps of many other botanicals before it, a selection of flowers you'll have to find a vase of your own to place. The focus on a single species like the rose products are something I usually prefer over the randomness of some others, though here you're greeted with a bunch of different colors and shapes for it. There's a pair of soon-to-be tulips and 2 orange ones that kinda keep away from the standard looks of most of them, with the orange leaf pieces pointing outwards instead of inwards, as I am more familiar with when it comes to these 4. While similar looking, if you pay close attention you'll find minor differences amongst them that made for a slightly more interesting building time, though all have this new curved wedge piece made in each of their respective colors. The red and yellow ones are basically the same build, with these recolored leaf pieces that match the shape somehow and close this gap. The purple ones are somewhat similar, but instead of the leaf pieces are using purple minifigure shield elements instead to close off the shape. And then finally, the three bigger tulips in pink do that by using minifigure surfboard pieces internally. To keep things more interesting, there's a bit of green leaves and foliage going around, resulting in a nice looking flower arrangement if this is up your alley. For me personally, and going back to the wild splashes of color, this for me is a bit much. But fortunately, the botanical selection these days is so big that even if you don't particularly like a specific product, there's high chances of finding a couple you do. Price-wise, this keeps at that $60 we've come to see in other bouquet sets. The only difference is that all of the others have at least 200 to 300 pieces more in comparison, which does put things in perspective, I guess. I'm sure this won't be the end of Botanicals for the year, so be sure to keep an eye out for upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.